This video is sponsored by this unicorn, and if you're curious as to why a unicorn's sponsoring videos, find out at the end of this one. We've done a ton of videos surrounding the latest iPhones, but we haven't really focused on the standard iPhone 15 model, and honestly, it might be the phone to get for this year. Even if we compare it to the only 1-year-old iPhone 14, there are actually a lot of changes between these two phones, and honestly, something that I would consider would warrant going out and picking up the iPhone 15, even if you have the 14. First off, there are some pretty substantial design changes, but if you're just looking at it, you might not find them very noticeable, but trust me, these changes make the phone that much better. So for starters, we now have contoured edges, which again might not be noticeable just by looking at it, but in the hand, they are just rounded enough to make a huge difference when holding both of these phones in the hand. I mean, the moment you start using the iPhone 15 and then go back and pick up the 14, the squared off edges on the 14 might look nicer for some. I don't really think that they'd look that much better than this rounded off edge, but honestly, just the feeling in the hand, it makes a huge difference. It's absolutely the right call, and it's the perfect blend of visual and just functional feeling in the hand of the phone. It's perfect. Now, if you couple that with the new frosted glass back, it's the new color infused frosted glass back, it is again, the perfect feeling iPhone. Now, this is the black color option, but there are a few other colors like yellow, blue, pink, and green. And I don't particularly love any of those other colors. The pink's pretty nice, but I went with the black because, well, it feels like a matte black option to me, and I really, really enjoy it. So again, I do love this move, going to frosted glass from this glossy back that we've had for quite a few years now. And again, it's obviously on the 14 model here. It just looks so much more premium. It feels more premium, and this matte black look on my 15 is excellent. Flipping it over and checking out the display itself is actually the same size as the iPhone 14, so there's nothing different there. However, you should immediately know when you turn the screens on that, there's no more notch. You now have the 2-hole punch cutout here that forms the dynamic island, which is what we got on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. Now, whether or not you think the dynamic island is a gimmick or you think it's actually useful, I don't understand if anyone could say that they would rather have the notch over the dynamic island. Even if you don't like it, the notch serves literally no purpose aside from hosting the true depth camera system. When it's, display on, it has no purpose. It's a waste of space. At least with the dynamic island, you can get some other functionality in what would otherwise be a blank space. So you can have timers, music controls, directions, and other useful pieces of information displayed on the island without taking up any other precious screen real estate. And it's also interactive so that you can access what you might need quickly. The display also got a boost in brightness, so you now have a 1000 nit brightness level on a typical basis, just pretty much all the time, up from 800 on the 14, and also 1600 nits of peak brightness for HDR content, which is up from 1200 on the iPhone 14. There's also a new 2000 nits of peak brightness when outdoors, which was probably one of my favorite and underrated features from the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max from last year. Huge game changer in my opinion when you're using your phone outside in sunny conditions. The last visual difference is down here. It's the port. We now go from Lightning, which we've had for like the last 10 years, to USB-C, which is what every other smartphone manufacturer is using. Unfortunately, the charging and transfer speeds for the non-Pro models are just going to be the same as last year, so nothing really different aside from a new type of connection, but still good to see moving forward as you can start to cut down the different types of cables that you might need to take with you. On the inside, we have the new A16 chip compared to the 15 found on last year's model. Both phones still have a 5-core GPU, but apparently the iPhone 15 now offers 50% more memory bandwidth. So I haven't really noticed that in terms of performance on a day-to-day basis, but it's good to know that you have some beefed up internals there. Speaking of those internals, there's also a new 2nd-gen ultra-wideband chip, which connects from 3 times further away, and you can use precision finding with other people, so you can find other iPhones using precision finding with that ultra-wideband 2nd-generation chip. Now, battery life is the same between both phones, but the new 15 does support Qi 2 charging and has a new setting to help prevent your phone from charging above 80%, which is also nice to have. Last but not least, the cameras. This is a pretty big improvement over last year, at least in terms of specs, because now you have a new 48 megapixel sensor over the 12 megapixel sensor that's been in previous models for quite some time now. And with this new sensor, you can now take 24 or 48 megapixel high resolution photos, thanks to pixel binning and computational photography and all of that. And it also uses the new Smart HDR5 for better dynamic range. But the iPhone 15 does offer improved night mode and night mode portraits. And speaking of portraits, you do get that next generation portrait mode with focus and depth controls that can be done after the photo is taken, meaning, and this is different here, you can now turn any non-portrait mode photo into a portrait mode photo as long as you see that little F icon here in the bottom left corner. There's also a new 2x optical zoom for the standard lineup now, which was introduced last year on the Pro models. And you still get the ultra wide, which is the 0.5, and the 1x optical that's still found as the only two options on the iPhone 14. So of course, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. That's kind of the overall arching major changes from the 14 to the 15. In my opinion, I feel like it's kind of worth the upgrade if you want to get some of those features that I just talked about, USB-C, the new design and the feeling, and some of those display, obviously dynamic island. But if you're, I wouldn't blame you if you decided to keep the 14. However, if you have anything older than that, the 15 is going to feel like a fairly significant upgrade in my opinion, but I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Before we end this video, I do want to give you more information about today's sponsor, Papercut. Now, do you remember that unicorn at the start of this video? It actually comes from a video that's doing the rounds at the moment from Papercut Software. Never heard of Papercut? Here's the thing. If you ever went to school, you probably used Papercut because their software is used in thousands of schools around the world to manage their print environment. And it's not just education. Papercut software is used in every workplace you can imagine and in every country, even Antarctica. So what's the point of Papercut? Why would you want to know about this? Well, you can have a lot of benefits from this software, but I'll name a couple of things. So you can improve print and data security by securing infrastructure around who can print, what they can print, etc. It saves on printing costs and the environment by utilizing features like Print Deploy, which helps administrators easily and automatically deploy printer drivers and print queues. And it easily enables bring your own device printing, so you can print from any mobile device regardless of any platform, or any computer regardless of platform. So if you haven't figured it out by now, it's also extremely compatible with macOS and iOS. So visit the link down below for more information on Papercut and learn how to try it out for yourself today. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.